So you built your business processes on ServiceNow workflows. You trust them. They've been the backbone of your automation strategy for years. But there's a quiet shift happening on the Now platform. And if you're not paying attention, you could be taking on some serious business risk. ServiceNow has officially marked the classic workflow editor as outdated technology. Now, what does that mean? No more updates, no new features, and a future where relying on them becomes a major problem. For a lot of organizations, this sounds like a huge headache, a forced march away from the familiar and into the unknown. But it doesn't have to be a crisis. In fact, this change is an opportunity. In this video, we're going to pull back the curtain on the deprecation of legacy workflows. We'll cover what it really means, why it's happening, and most importantly, we'll walk through the powerful modern tool that's replacing them, Flow Designer. By the end of this, you'll have a clear path forward and a strategy to not just survive this transition, but to completely revolutionize your automations. Before we get into ServiceNow specifics, let's get on the same page about what deprecation actually means in the software world. It's a term that causes a lot of confusion, but it's a normal part of any healthy technology life cycle. Deprecation is basically a heads up from a software company that a feature is being retired. Think of it as a yellow flag, not a red one. It means the feature is being phased out and you're strongly encouraged to stop using it. It's like a car manufacturer announcing they're discontinuing an old engine model. For a while, they'll still support it. You can get parts, find mechanics who know how to fix it, and your car will run just fine. But they aren't putting that engine in any new car models. All their research, all their innovation is going into a new, more efficient hybrid or electric engine. Over time, parts for that old engine will get harder to find, the expert mechanics will retire, and trying to keep that old car on the road just becomes more trouble than it's worth. That's exactly what's happening with ServiceNow's classic workflows. For years, the legacy workflow editor was the king of automation on the platform. It's a powerful script-heavy tool that gave developers total control, but it's also a product of its time. The interface is clunky. It requires a ton of scripting knowledge for even simple tasks, and it just wasn't built for the modern low-code world. In fact, the legacy workflow editor hasn't gotten any meaningful updates since 2018. It's been in what's called maintenance mode. This means ServiceNow will fix critical, show-stopping bugs, but they aren't spending a single development hour making it better. All the new investment, all the cool new features are being poured exclusively into its successor. So what are the real stakes here? What happens if you just ignore the writing on the wall? First, you're racking up technical debt like crazy. Every new workflow you create with the old tool is just one more thing you'll eventually have to rebuild. Second, you're locking yourself out of innovation. ServiceNow is investing heavily in AI features like flow generation that can turn plain English into a working automation. These game-changing tools will only work with Flow Designer. By sticking with legacy workflows, you're guaranteeing your platform can't use the very features designed to make it more powerful. And third, and this is the big one, you are running on technology that is slowly being sunset. While your existing workflows will continue to function for now, the direction is clear. Starting with the Zurich release, brand new ServiceNow instances no longer even ship with the out-of-the-box legacy workflows. And while ServiceNow has stated the engine isn't being removed in the foreseeable future, they do plan to stop shipping it with newly provisioned instances altogether by the end of 2025. There is no official turn-off date yet, but relying on this technology is like building a house on a foundation you know is slowly eroding. It's not a question of if it will cause a major disruption, but when. Now that we understand the urgency, let's talk about the solution, Flow Designer. This isn't just a replacement. It's a completely different way of thinking about automation on the Now platform. It was built from the ground up to fix the shortcomings of the old system and to be used by a much wider audience. Where legacy workflows were for developers, Flow Designer is for the business. It's a low-code environment that lets process owners and business analysts build powerful automations, often without writing a single line of code. Let's break down the key advantages that make Flow Designer the obvious successor. First up, the user experience. It's a night and day difference. The old workflow editor is a tangled mess of lines and boxes that quickly becomes impossible to read. Flow Designer, on the other hand, gives you a clean top-down visual layout. Every step is described in plain English. Instead of run script, you see actions like create record, ask for approval, and send email. It makes the logic incredibly easy to follow, even for someone who didn't build it. The second major advantage is reusability, a concept Flow Designer masters. A huge problem in the old world was developers creating dozens of scripts that all did basically the same thing. Flow Designer introduces actions and subflows. Think of an action as a reusable building block. Let's say you often need to create an Active Directory user account. Instead of copying that script into a dozen workflows, you build it once as a custom action. You define the inputs like name and department and outputs like the new email address. From then on, anyone can just drag that action into their flow. If you ever need to update the logic, you do it in one place, and every flow using it is instantly updated. This is a game changer for maintenance and scalability. Third is performance and intelligence. Legacy workflows can sometimes tie up a user's session, making the platform feel sluggish. Flows, however, are designed to run asynchronously in the background, making for a much faster user experience. And what's more, Flow Designer is where all of ServiceNow's AI innovation is happening. We already mentioned generating flows from text. With Now Assist, you can get AI-powered suggestions right inside the builder. The future of intelligent automation on ServiceNow is completely tied to Flow Designer. Finally, let's talk integrations. Flow Designer is the core of Integration Hub, which comes with a huge library of pre-built connectors or spokes for systems like Slack, Microsoft Teams, and Salesforce. This lets you build automations that go far beyond ServiceNow with the same drag and drop simplicity. Instead of writing complex API scripts, you use pre-built actions like post a message to Slack. This dramatically lowers the barrier to creating powerful enterprise-wide automations in every single way, from usability and reusability to performance and future readiness. Flow Designer isn't just an alternative to legacy workflows. It's a vastly superior evolution. Theory is great, but seeing is believing. Let's walk through a common scenario to really see the difference between building in the old editor versus the new Flow Designer. Now imagine one real-time scenario. A user requests a high-end laptop that costs more than $2,000. The process needs approval from the user's manager, and because it's expensive, it also needs approval from their department head. Once approved, a task is created for the hardware team. All right, let's start with the legacy workflow editor. We drag an approval user activity onto the canvas. To get the manager, we can't just pick them. We have to write a little script. Current variables requested for manager. Next, the department head. This info might not be on the user record, so we'd probably need a run script activity before the approval. Inside that script, we'd use glide record to query the department table, find the right department, and grab the depth head field. We'd store this in the workflow scratchpad, a temporary variable holder. Then, in our second approval activity, we'd use another script to pull that value from the scratchpad. You can already see how this is getting complicated. We've written 2 scripts just to find the approvers. Now we drag a create task activity on. In the short description, we probably want something dynamic like prepare laptop for Jane Doe. That would require another little script. It works, but it's a mix of visual boxes and hidden code that's hard for anyone else to understand. Now, let's build the exact same thing in Flow Designer. We create a new flow and set the trigger to service catalog. It's all self-contained. For our first approval, we add an ask for approval action. The interface is clean. For the approvers field, we click the data pill picker, which lets us browse all the data visually. We just navigate to trigger requested for record manager. Click, done. No script. Now for the department head approval. We add another ask for approval action. Again, we use the data pill picker. We go to trigger requested for department head of department. Click, done. No glide record query, no scratchpad, no scripting. That took about 5 seconds. But wait, this approval should only happen if the laptop is expensive. Easy. We add if flow logic. The condition is simple. We pick the data pill for the item's price and set the condition is greater than 2,000. We then just drag our department head approval inside this if block. Finally, we add an action to create catalog task. A simple form appears. We set the assignment group to hardware fulfillment. For the short description, we just type prepare laptop for and drag the data pill for the requested for's name right into the text box. We activate the flow. The entire process is laid out in plain English. We haven't written a single line of code. And testing is a dream. You can run a test and see exactly what happened at each step, what data went in, and what the outcome was. The comparison makes it obvious. For almost every use case, building in Flow Designer is faster, easier, and way more maintainable. Okay, the benefits are clear. The direction from ServiceNow is clear. So the question on your mind is probably, where do I even start? You might have hundreds, even thousands of legacy workflows. The thought of migrating all of them can be paralyzing. The key is to treat this not as one giant project, but as a phased strategic journey. First, you have to establish governance. Effective immediately, your team should adopt a flow-first policy. All new automations must be built in Flow Designer, period. Any change request for an old legacy workflow should be seen as a migration opportunity. If someone wants to modify an old workflow, your default response should be to rebuild it in Flow Designer, adding the new requirement at the same time. This stops you from digging the hole any deeper. Second, assess and plan. You need an inventory of what you have. You can run a report on the WF workflow table to find all your active legacy workflows. Once you have this list, you need to prioritize. A great strategy is to categorize them into 4 buckets. Bucket 1, quick wins. These are simple workflows that run all the time. Migrating them gives you immediate value with low effort and is a perfect way for your team to build confidence with Flow Designer. The basics of bucket 2, modernized out of the box. ServiceNow has already converted most of its own internal workflows. If you're using a customized version of an old one, check the latest documentation. There's probably a Flow Designer version you can use as your new baseline. Bucket 3, mission critical workflows. These are your big, complex custom processes. They require the most planning, but also offer the biggest rewards in modernization and performance. The bucket for low priority. These might be automations for niche processes that only run a few times a year. They should be migrated eventually, but they pose the least immediate risk. Third, enable your team. Your developers need time and resources to learn this new tool. Send them to the Flow Designer Fundamentals and Flow Designer Advanced courses on Now Learning. Create Flow evangelists on your organization. Power users who are excited about the tech and can mentor their peers. This investment in training is non-negotiable. Finally, execute the migration. For each workflow, start by reviewing the business requirements. Don't just lift and shift. This is the perfect chance to ask, can we make this process better? You'll often find you can streamline old clunky processes with the new features in Flow Designer. Rebuild them as modular actions and subflows. Test rigorously using Flow Designer's built-in tools and then deploy. This isn't a race, it's a marathon. But with a clear strategy, you can make steady, measurable progress. The message from ServiceNow is simple. The era of the classic workflow editor is over. While your existing workflows will keep running for now, they are on borrowed time. The future of automation on the Now platform, a future that is smarter, more connected, and more accessible, is Flow Designer. So this transition might seem like a lot of work, but it's also a golden opportunity to reevaluate your processes, get rid of technical debt, and empower your organization to automate on a scale you never thought possible. Don't wait for a future upgrade to force your hand. The time to start your migration journey is now. Start with that flow-first policy. Identify those low-complexity, high-impact quick wins. Invest in training for your team. If you found this guide helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the ServiceNow platform. And I want to hear from you. What are your biggest worries about migrating to Flow Designer? Are there specific legacy workflows you're struggling with? Leave a comment below and let's tackle these challenges together as a community. Thanks for watching. Finally, execute the migration. For each workflow, start by reviewing the business requirements. Don't just lift and shift. This is the perfect chance to ask, can we make this process better? You'll often find you can streamline old clunky processes with the new features in Flow Designer. Rebuild them as modular actions and subflows. Test rigorously using Flow Designer's built-in tools and then deploy. This isn't a race, it's a marathon. But with a clear strategy, you can make steady, measurable progress.